I'm going to introduce you to someone you likely have not yet met, but the newest member of our team, Kevin Rochford, Director of Family Office Services. Kevin graduated from Williams College. He joined the Marines as an intelligence officer, received an MBA at NYU, and then spent more than 3 decades in financial services. He's worked in commercial banking, global markets, lived in London, Asia, and has overseen relationships in and across Europe, the Middle East, Hong Kong, and Japan. In recent years, his work has focused on the type of clients and structures that are very familiar with our firm: successful business owners, corporate executives, multi-generational families. So here's where I'm going with this. When someone with Kevin's vast background, level of success, unique perspective, is looking for a new home for his relationships, explores all the options in the industry, has been part of many of those options, and can choose from any one of them, but chooses Clearwater. That's both a compliment and a responsibility. It says something about the work we're doing and the kinds of families this place serves. So I've asked Kevin to come up and to tell us in his own words why this firm, why this team, and why this model matters. Please help me in welcoming Kevin.
Thanks, Katie. That's the biggest head I've seen in so long. Actually, can I get a copy of this so I can bring it home to my wife and just put it up on the wallpaper? Right? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I don't want to make this about me because it's really not. It's about you, the clients and friends of the firm. So if you're a client of the firm, thanks for being with us. Thanks for giving us your trust and confidence. That means everything, and we take it very seriously. If you're not a client of the firm, you're a friend of the firm, so welcome and enjoy. As Katie said, I'm relatively new, 3-4 months here, and I've spent over 30 years in financial services. At Northern Trust, I worked over in London and Asia, and then ultimately ran their high net worth business on the West Coast, and then I worked for a firm called Bessemer Trust, which is about 120 years old and only works with large families. And I'd say Wall Street for me has been a story of 2 wolves, and I'll explain that now. There's a Cherokee legend about raising children, and in that legend story, a granddaughter is with her grandfather, and she wants to know how to grow up to be a good person, a good member of the tribe. And he's like, where is this coming from? And she said, well, I want to be like so-and-so because I see they put service first, community first, the tribe first. They lead by example. They think of others. But yet I see other people here in the community, and they're about themselves. And they struggle with these issues, and they create opportunities that benefit them, but not necessarily the tribe. And I can see the tension and the angst that goes on in the community between these 2 types of individuals. And I want to grow up, and I want to be the right kind of individual, the best kind. How do I do that? And the grandfather says, well, it depends. We all have spirit wolves. We all have 2 spirit wolves that follow us. And one spirit wolf is there always talking about take care of yourself, put yourself first. Make it about profit, make it about advantage, climb to the top, move quickly. And the other spirit wolf is think about community, put others first. That will take care of your needs. Principle, honor, make those the ways you guide your life. And she said, well, that's great. There's 2 wolves, but how am I going to possibly grow and make sure I do it the right way? And he said, it depends on which wolf you choose to feed. The wolf that you give your attention and time and energy to. And I would say that's very much of a Wall Street story. There's the wolf of profit and avarice and doing the right thing for the shareholders only and making sure that executives have great pay packages. And then there's the wolf of serving, the wolf of putting yourself behind the scenes and making sure your families are uplifted and they're always your priority. And knowing if you live that way and you operate that way, things will take care of themselves. So which wolf do you choose to feed? And that was a constant struggle, I think, for anyone who's made a career on Wall Street. Even at the really good firms, like I've been fortunate to be part of, that tension always exists. So when I started looking for a new job last year, I said, now I want to be somewhere where I don't have to make that kind of struggle. I want to be somewhere where I know what makes greatness, because I've been fortunate to be part of some great things. Culture, values, and wisdom are the DNA of success, I think. I think they're the DNA of success for families and the DNA of success for corporations or businesses. Culture, values, and wisdom. And what brings them to life is a great team that operates very clearly with one another, knowing they have each other's backs. And great teams have a few qualities: candor, putting the mission first, and being clear what the mission is. And our mission is to serve you, to uplift you. So how do I find that? So anyway, I began that journey, but before I tell you how I finished that journey, I just want to give you some quick background on where I come from and what this perspective is, so you know how I see the world for better or for worse. So I was born in New York City. My parents were Irish immigrants. They came over here with nothing, essentially. They didn't even have the high school equivalent of the Irish equivalent of a high school degree. And they came over because this was the place you came to take chances. This is where you come, and if you put your focus, your kids can get educated, and better things can probably happen here than in Ireland at the time. And 3 boys ultimately ended up getting college degrees and advanced degrees. So when my mother passed away a few years ago, she was about 93 at the time, and she said, "It's all been worthwhile. We did it." And that was heartwarming to hear that from her point of view in that long struggle. But growing up in New York, that service element was clear. My father was an electrician at the Waldorf Astoria for 49 years, which is one of the grand hotels in America. He wore that uniform proudly. We'd go to work with him at the Waldorf Astoria. He'd change a light bulb. He'd offer to do something for a guest of the hotel. In his mind, every act he did was an act of service, an act of honor, and it uplifted the hotel, which meant it uplifted him. And so we saw very clearly that he lived this code of service, and doing the right thing, taking care of others, ultimately, is the great way to live. Moved on to high school, went to a Jesuit school. If you're not Catholic, Jesuits are a 500-year-old order of priests, and they value 2 things: challenging authority, challenging common wisdom, which of course is not typical inside a 2,000-year-old bureaucracy, the church. But the other thing the Jesuits are really well known for, and I was at an all-boys school, is the phrase, men for others. Live your life as a man for others. So again, I'm hearing about service as a way to live. As a way to lift up others is the ultimate way to take care of yourself. I move on from high school and I go to college, went to a good school in Massachusetts. I ended up on the rowing team. I know you look and you say, how does a guy like this end up on a rowing team? It's a Division III school. They were all bad athletes, so we all were able to get on teams. And if you know anything about rowing, 8 guys in a coxswain in a boat, trying to move anywhere requires the ultimate amount of thinking about just the mission and not yourself. 8 oars that have to enter the water at the same time. 8 oars that have to enter the water at the same angle. No matter what your issue is of the day, no matter how much you dislike or disagree with the guy in front of you or behind you, that must be put aside for the mission, which is to get down that river effectively. It's called Symphony in Motion, rowing, and that's what I decided I wanted to be part of professionally. I wanted to work somewhere where Symphony in Motion was the way we operated. We came together, we knew what the mission was, we spent our time putting all our effort into getting it done. I moved on after college then to the Marine Corps, which was in many ways the ultimate culture, values, and wisdom organization. Similarly, Symphony in Motion. The Marines have a very well-defined culture, expectations about what makes a good Marine, why we're there. I got far more from the Marine Corps than they got from me. To this day, I say that and I try and give back. You can be a good Marine officer if you're a good shot. You can be certainly a good Marine officer if you're brave. Those all are valuable skills. But you can only be a great Marine officer if you take care of your Marines. They embedded that from day one. Your job is to make sure those young Marines are cared for. Peacetime, combat, whatever the situation is, you put your mind to taking care of them. As an example, often we'd be out for long periods of time, 2 or 3 weeks in the field, jungle or desert environment, and you'd eat whatever you carried with you, and occasionally there might be a helicopter that would fly in and bring some hot food, which was a huge treat. And the way the Marines do that is the youngest Marine eats first, the most senior Marines eat last. The CO eats last. And what does that mean? A lot of times by the time I got up there as the XO or the CO, there was no food left, no hot food left. That's okay. Mission accomplished. We took care of our Marines. Take care of our Marines, they will get the mission done, they will take care of us. So at this point, this is how I've been formed, this is what I value, for better or for worse. You know now how I think about the world, and you can take that into consideration. I want to work after I leave the Marine Corps, of course. I know how to speak a little bit of Russian. I know how to blow things up, not very marketable skills at that time frame. So I find myself in the world of financial services because they had training programs at the time for people like myself who had a background that wasn't financial. And then I spent 30 years in financial services. And that's where I could see culture, values, and wisdom sometimes expressed as the good wolf, sometimes expressed, unfortunately, through the bad will. So let me give you an example of some of the things that we contended with which don't serve families. That was a time where we were told you can't visit clients anymore. Our share price is down because we're not making as much money. We're cutting out travel and expense. No more flights, no more visiting clients. We had a family that had been planning for 2 years a gathering, a fifth-generation family, about 120 family members coming together from around the world. And we were playing a role in that. And they said, call them and tell them you can't be there. Do you know how disruptive that is to a family? Never mind a family that's been planning for 2 years. Don't go unless they threaten to fire you. Well, what family is going to threaten to fire you and then ask you to be part of their team and be on the inside? Katie used the word calling. I've always said a great advisor is someone who sees this work as a calling. It is a privilege and it's an honor to be on the inside of a family and being asked to think about different issues. That is not, calling cannot be lived if you're quarterly having to worry about share price and whether or not you can go visit your clients or not, or do things like that. Another time, open 1,000 accounts. Just a random open 1,000 accounts. Why? Well, we need to show growth. We just need to show growth. Don't worry about it. Just open 1,000 accounts. Well, are they good accounts? Is it good for the families? Is it good for us? How's it going to impact the families that we're currently serving if we're all running around like chickens with our head cut off, trying to open 1,000 accounts? Just some nameless effort to show growth. There was another time. I came back from the Marine Corps. I did nothing after I left the Marine Corps at the time, and then I got called up to Persian Gulf 1. So I'm traveling in Wisconsin. I get a telegram. The telegram says, you've been ordered back to active duty. You've got 3 days to make this happen. Like a dork, I focus on the fact that there's a telegram involved, and I'm talking to my wife going, did the telegram man come? Did he have the little hat? Is it still West? She's like, that's not the point of what we're talking about here. The point is you've been called back to this war. I come back, I walk into the office in Manhattan with this telegram, and of course everyone starts focusing on, oh, I didn't know they had telegrams. That's amazing they have telegrams. Yes, they do have telegrams still apparently, but read the telegram. I have 3 days to get down to Quantico to go off and do this. And the reaction was, wow, this is really inconvenient. We have goals to make. Your not being here is going to set the team back. What are we going to possibly do in order to make bonus this year if we don't have enough money through the sales process? By the way, you may not have a job when you come back because we're going to have to fill it because we got all these problems. Oh, can you delay it? Sure, I'll call George Bush up. I'm sure he'll be very understanding of my situation. I mean, he only fought in World War II and risked his life. I'm sure he'll want me to take time off because we have a bonus to make. So you can see culturally, often the value system, the culture, values, and wisdom that I prize and that you should prize and you should expect from any place that you're entrusting your life's work with is so critical, and it often doesn't show in that situation. So when the time came to look again for work, I said, I have to find somewhere where I know that I'm not going to have this tension between the two wolves and where the focus is on what we've said. What matters. I want to live this calling. I want to be able to walk in and know I'm doing the right thing for a family. I want to know if it's not the right thing, I don't have to even consider it because of some sales goal that resides somewhere. So when I thought about, I just want to give you, one more example of lack of client focus. We had a client in Japan that we missed the deadline for. And if you know anything about Japanese clients, there's a great culture around service and expectation. And when you don't make that expectation, it's a deep wound to the psyche. And that has to be honored and respected. And again, when we missed this deadline, the reaction was, well, just send them a note. Tell them we're sorry. Well, that's not even anywhere close to what they need. Okay, fine. Give them a discount on fees for 2 quarters, and then they'll forget about it. No, they're not going to forget about it. This is not how that culture works. It is disrespectful. And so finally, I was able to get someone to agree with me. And we left on a Saturday night. We landed in Tokyo on Sunday night. On Monday morning, we went into the office. We made a deep bow, apologized. We were probably in the office for 7 or 8 minutes. But that's what was needed. They needed to see us show up, take responsibility on their terms, their way they see the world as a client, and show them that respect. And so we left. So we traveled around the world 30 hours for about a 7-8 minute meeting. But it was the right thing to do. But to get there was like pulling teeth from the firm. They just didn't want it. So how are you going to serve someone? How are you going to serve a family? How are you going to serve a client if you don't know how they see the world and what they expect? We have to deliver that. So when I was looking, A friend of mine introduced me to John Sleeting, who's not here this morning, and so began my conversation with Clearwater. And let me give you an example of the culture here that I'm so fortunate to be a part of, and hopefully you feel fortunate to be part of as a client or friend. John, as an example, and the partners via John, had me go to dinner with my wife. And usually in Wall Street, when you're asked to go to dinner with your spouse, it's to see, are you guys going to order the right food, the right wine? Are you going to spill anything? Do you know where the bread basket is, how to handle that? It's all of those superficial optics. John arranged this meeting because he knew this was a big jump for me, and he valued, and the firm values, the kind of people that come to work. Would I add something? Would I connect with our clients? Because if not, nothing else matters. And John wanted to make sure my wife was all in on Clearwater and that my wife had a chance to ask questions about the culture, because he knew that to make this work, the two of us had to be all in. I've never, in 35 years, never had anyone show any interest in whether my spouse understood what the firm was about, the culture, the values, and the wisdom, and took the time to say, let's make this about your spouse and let her ask questions. That was extraordinary. Locally owned, built from the ground, built by, I will call John a fellow refugee from Wall Street, people looking to do it the right way, looking to build and stay locally owned, looking to be part of the community. You heard Katie's references to philanthropy and giving back. Not growing because there are sales goals to meet or bonus pools to fill. Growing because it's the right thing to do, and if it's a slow growth year, but it was the right thing to do, that's fine, because we're doing it for the long term. Where on Wall Street do you see a purpose statement that talks about abundance and joy? Those words don't exist on Wall Street except the morning after bonuses are paid to the employees. That's the abundance and joy that generally is focused on. Here, when I walked in the offices and I saw that, and then I realized it wasn't just a marketing phrase, but literally what expresses the DNA of the firm, the culture, values, and wisdom, that just took my breath away, because that was home for me, finding that. So I have found my home, and I'm very fortunate, and I hope to be able to contribute and add. Hopefully you feel like you're at home as well with Clearwater. And I look forward to meeting you, and if I can be of any service along the way, we've got a great team of advisors and others that you all know, but like all of us, I'm here to serve, and it's an honor to be part of this profession and to have the calling to be there with families. So thank you for letting me speak this morning. Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks, Clearwater, for having me. Thank you.